Hello, folks. I hope everyone is doing well today. Any turmoils that you might be having or stuck in, remember, seek Yahweh through all of them. Seek His guidance, ask Him to be your comfort, and, follow His guidelines, instructions that He's laid out for us in dealing with every situation. Because there is a guideline in the Bible to cover any and every situation that may arise. Romans 8:28. All things work together for good for those who love Yahweh, to them who are called according to His purpose. And that actually leads me to today. This video is a lot late, I'm sure. This is probably one of the first videos I ever should have made. It just wasn't an issue at the time, and like everybody else, out of sight, out of mind. But it is not unbiblical to vote. In fact, I would go so far as to say it's unbiblical to not vote. And a lot of people like to cling to the scripture that says you're not of this world, seek Yahweh's kingdom and stuff like that. And those things are true, but not in the context that they're being applied. We're supposed to live in the world, but not be of the world. Okay? So that means that we are supposed to separate ourselves spiritually, emotionally, morally, behaviorally, and everything else from the world as much as we can. But let's go back to a specific law that has been passed within the past couple of years. It is now federally legal for pregnant women to kill their unborn children. It's called abortion. And, I'm not sure if it was how the law is set up and all of that stuff, but the fact is it's now federally legal. Well, guess what? It's unbiblical. And, we are given free will by Yahweh, absolutely. But is it okay for us to take that free will to murder a child, born or not? No, it's not okay. It's morally reprehensible to murder a child, even in one that hasn't been born yet. And how does that relate to voting? Well, if more people that claim to follow the Bible would vote, then that would at the very least counter some of the votes for the other side. And yeah, I know it's tit for tat and playing number games and stuff like that. Let's circle back to this concept that it's unbiblical to vote. Which the abortion thing, it really does, it ties in, because if biblically observant people would vote in accordance with Scripture, in fact, if all biblical people would vote in accordance with Scripture, we'd be in one of two situations right now. Either we would have people there that are closer to the morals that we're supposed to live by running the country, or it would be an obvious, blatant overriding of that, or overthrowing of that, so that the evil people would have to just come right out and say, we don't care what the population says, we're going to do it our way, which is tyranny. And according to the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, we are not supposed to abide tyranny. I'm not talking about trying to force your biblical views down somebody else's throat, and I'm not talking about non-biblical people trying to force their non-biblical views down anyone's throat. I'm talking about biblically minded people denying our responsibility to vote. You know, let's go back to Genesis for a second. And I don't remember where it is in Genesis. I think it's in Genesis, where Yahweh says, subdue the earth. Aren't we supposed to still be subduing the earth? And yes, I know that that means that we're supposed to use wood and, you know, make brick and cinder block and cement and build and learn about the earth and stuff like that. But doesn't it also mean that we are supposed to be living examples of what everyone else is supposed to be? How can we be a living example to do what's right if we stay hidden? You know, that scripture that says, who lights a lamp and then hides it under a basket, comes to mind. You know, no one. You light a lamp to light the whole house. You don't light it and then hide it under a basket to hide the light. How can we be a light to the world if we're hiding out of sight? If we're trying to become so separated and isolated from the rest of the world that no one can see us? I'll refer back to what I said in the beginning. We are supposed to be in the world, not of the world. So how can you be in the world if you're hiding behind closed doors? I've heard people say that, well, I can't vote because I can't be part of a corrupt system. I understand what your thought process is, and your thought process is wrong. You live in the United States? Okay. So if you do you eat? I mean, I'm sure you do. Do you live in a house or a mobile home or something? I'm sure you do. Do you travel on the roads? I'm sure you do. All right. How do you acquire the things that you eat? Oh, well, I grow a garden. Okay, all right, that's fine. You grow a garden. So you grow a garden year round? Well, no, I can the stuff. All right. How do you can the stuff? You know, do you do it on a wood fire, and you cut your own wood and you own your own land and all that stuff? You're completely self-sufficient. You don't travel on the roads. You don't have to purchase anything to do your canning. You don't have to purchase fuel for your equipment. I mean, no matter how much you try to say you're not part of the system, you're part of the system. If you use money, you're attached to the system. You're not supposed to be controlled by the system. And how do you expect to affect change in the world by isolating yourself from the world? It doesn't make sense. You know, maybe I'm too stupid to understand it. Maybe that's what it is. You know, and I'm not trying to talk ugly to anybody or about anybody or anything like that. It's beyond me. You fuss about how corrupt the system is and stuff like that, and then you refuse to take the one action that would help you change the system. Alright, well then there's all those folks that, oh, well, it's corrupt and your vote doesn't count. They just do what they want to do anyway. Really? You've seen this with your own eyes. You have concrete evidence to prove it beyond the shadow of a doubt. Well, no, I really don't, but this, no. If you can't prove it, you're gossiping, period. If you're telling people things are a certain way and you don't know it to be for sure, you're gossiping. It's that simple. Is the system corrupt? I think it is. I don't have any proof to that effect, but I think it is. Do I think my vote counts? I don't think it counts as much as we are led to believe they count, but I also know that if I didn't vote at all, then I would be as guilty as those who are doing the evil things. Take for example, I was watching a video the other night. I actually posted a link to it on my Facebook page. I'll post a link to it in this video right here. And there's one particular part of it, and I'll go and find the time reference so you can listen to it if you'd like. But it's a police officer, and he's talking about, if you're a potential suspect, you don't talk to police officers. In this particular video that I'm talking about, a police officer standing there telling a story about how he pulled a car over and it had some stolen property in it. They knew the property was stolen, and so they locked up the two guys that were in the car. When he's in the interview room with one of the people that they arrested, and this guy thinks he's pretty smart. And so he tells the cops, no, I didn't steal anything. And then the cop asked him, well, did you know the stuff was stolen? Yeah. Boom, got you right there. So he didn't steal the stuff. He wasn't anywhere around when the stuff got stolen. He wasn't trying to sell the stuff. He let somebody else sell it, and then he'd collect the money for it. Well, guess what? That's the same thing as refusing to vote and standing around and letting evil continue to run rampant. It's like that other saying that I lean on so much. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. So if you sit on the sidelines while you know evil things are going on and you don't lift a finger to try to stop it, if you take no action to try to stop it, overcome it, do away with it, put a stop to it, you're as guilty as the folks that are out there doing the evil stuff. So if you know that there are crooked politicians out there, and at the risk of upsetting some folks, I'm going to use some names here. You've got folks like Maxine Waters running around telling her constituents to harass conservatives and Trump supporters everywhere they find them, in the grocery stores and restaurants and stuff like that. And her supporters are doing that because she told them to. They probably would not have come up with the idea to do it on their own, at least not en masse the way they're doing it now, if she had never said it. Occasionally there are incidents where that would happen, but not to the degree that is happening now. Nancy Pelosi twisting up something that Trump said. Trump was calling MS-13 animals because they're animals. They behave like animals. Well, Pelosi turns around and says that Trump is referring to all immigrants as animals. Well, that's not what he said. She's intentionally twisting what he said. Vote these people out. I've also heard it said that, well, a vote for the lesser of two evils is still a vote for evil. Get real. Had you rather evil be on a supersonic rocket ship coming in, or had you rather it be in a horse and buggy and you're throwing obstacles in front of it as hard as you can go? You know that the evil is still going to come. You know that there's nothing that we can do to stop it. But to be sure, we should be striving to slow it down. Anyway, I'm just going to wrap it up here because I'm frustrated with those who are supposed to be my brothers and sisters in Yeshua. Not all of you, A good chunk of you, I certainly am. I mean, how can you claim to despise the system and then not do anything to try to change it? That's hypocrisy, is what that is. That is outright blatant hypocrisy. You know, I saw where someone else had made a comment today, and the comment was, if Yeshua was here, do you think you would see him go into a voting booth? Okay, well, that is ludicrous. If Yeshua was here, no, he wouldn't be going into a voting booth because he's already the king. So no, he wouldn't go into a voting booth. He has no need to. He has all the authority. He is in charge. He is perfect. And under his rule, all things will be restored. Until that time comes, he instructed us to occupy. And sitting in a closet with your eyes closed, your hands over your ears, the door closed up, all the lights turned off, and you're in your little protected bubble is not occupying. That's hiding. Go out and make disciples of everyone. We know we can't do that, but if we don't try, then no one will be brought into the family. So anyway, all that said, remember Proverbs 18:13, Proverbs 18:21, Acts chapter 10. No, I'm sorry, Acts 17 verses 10 and 11, and 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 15. Other than that, you know, I hope to see all of you in the kingdom of heaven. Yahweh bless.